It's great to see all of you. Thank you for joining us for the Impact Challenge 25 Winner Showcase and Community Feedback Session. Today is all about co-innovation and collaboration and celebrating the power of our community to create new value and turn uncertainty into opportunity together. Before we begin, let me take a moment just to introduce myself and the speakers for today. So I'm Snezhina. I have the pleasure of opening today's session as one of the organizers of the Impact Challenge, together with Anita, Head of Community, and Mitila. I work in the Academy team as a Senior Director of Global Learning Experiences. Joining us today is Vivek, Senior Director of Industry Transformation at Cognite. He'll be facilitating the rest of the session, and he'll also walk us through the challenge and help guide us through the session today. We're also super happy to be joined by our two winning teams today, which is really the heart of today's session, sharing their success stories with all of you today. You'll hear from Dinesh from 3 Diagonal, who will present the first place solution, and from Aditya from SLB, who will walk us through the second place solution. We are excited to have all of you here today and what to expect today. So we'll start with a short opening session with what we are doing right now, and then Vivek will walk us through the challenge and key outcomes. We'll see two winning ideas in action, and we'll have plenty of time for questions and discussions. And then we will wrap up the whole thing with key takeaways and what's coming next. So it is a focus session, but very much of interactive one. So maybe next slide. So for those who are new to Cognite Hub, what is Cognite Hub really? In simple terms, this is our Cognite global community space. It's the place where our customers, partners, and Cogniters come together to learn, share ideas, ask questions, and build things together around Cognite Data Fusion and everything about digital transformation. Today, Cognite Hub connects close to 16,000 members from different industries and regions around the world. And you'll find here different topics and areas and community groups you can join, spaces to discuss real challenges, a shared knowledge base, and also an integrated learning experience through the Academy, which is a new thing now. Also, there is a gamification layer behind the scenes that highlights and celebrates the most active contributors. Okay, this is exactly the kind of environment where challenges like Impact Challenge can really grow. Ideas can be shared very early, shaped together, and turn into something real. So that's about Cognite Hub. And on the next slide, there is one feature related to ideation innovation. It's ideation feature. So this is one of the key features on Cognite Hub. If you haven't been there, please take a look. We'll invite you to join there and share your ideas on how we improve and evolve together. This is really very vibrant space for co-innovation, and we're really proud of the active community around that. So next slide. So just some basic about the Impact Challenge and which we are talking about today. So before Impact Conference 2025, on Cognite Hub, we launched the Hack for Impact Challenge with a simple yet a very ambitious goal to explore how Cognite Data Fusion can solve real business challenges, spark innovation, and accelerate customer value with CDF and digital transformation. The response were incredible, and we saw ideas spanning process, context, industrial AI, and more, and all grounded in real use case and real needs. What really stood out is what you will see today, but absolutely creativity, curiosity, and strong focus on business impact. Now with that, I'm very happy to hand it over now to Vivek, who will take us through the challenges in more detail and share the key outcomes and actually guide us throughout the rest of the session. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Vivek Massey. I am a member of the value engineering team, also known as the customer value team. And I work with customers and our internal teams to help identify value from your CDF installation. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about the challenge itself and what we were looking for and the evaluation criteria. So with the challenge really was, with the goal of maximizing the impact of your current investments, we asked participants for creative, no-code concepts and ideas that show how to leverage CDF to do a few things. Drive digital transformation across teams, deliver measurable business value, build a truly data-driven organization, and utilize data to drive flexibility and clarity for operations. So specifically, we were looking for no-code ideas that make it easier to adopt CDF, scale across teams and use cases, and help businesses gain more flexibility to respond to the dynamic business environment. Now, in terms of the evaluation criteria, we had three criteria. The first was impact and scalability. And basically, we were looking for how clearly does the solution address a real challenge with potential for wide-reaching impact. So essentially, can it scale beyond the prototype locally, nationally, and across different contexts? The second criteria was extraction of strategic value with CDF. So essentially, how well does the solution align with CDF's mission and goals? And can it leverage existing CDF investments or partnerships? The third criteria was feasibility and execution. Is the idea realistic and implementable with available resources? Is there a clear plan? And does the team have the capacity or pathway to bring it to life? So after careful consideration, two submissions stood out and were judged winners of the 2025 Impact Challenge, Tri-Diagonal AI and SLB. So before we get into the presentations, I would like to introduce you to our two speakers. First up, you'll hear from Aditya Kotial. He's a strategic partnership and product leader at SLB with 13 plus years experience in cloud and digital transformation. He's worked across product strategy, cloud platforms, and emerging technologies, and is passionate about leveraging AI and industrial data platforms to accelerate business value. He'll be followed by Dinesh Makit, who is the global practice head at Tri-Diagonal AI. Dinesh is an expert in Cognite technologies and helps industrial companies with deployment of AI-driven solutions in their complex operating environments without disrupting existing workflows or compromising operational stability. So, without further ado, Aditya, you're up first. Let's hear your great idea, your submission.
Thank you, Vivek, and thanks everyone for the opportunity to speak today. Thank you for joining in. A very happy new year to all of you. So, I'm Aditya, as Vivek mentioned, and I will walk you through an end user's perspective on the type of everyday friction an end user or a domain user faces today, while using a data platform and then extract and unlock, the real value out of that data, right? So our focus through this idea will be to talk about Gen AI through Atlas AI and how it helps to unlock, how it can help to unlock workflows on top of CDF. So I will start with a very small example or a story, which will kind of, help you to understand where the problem lies, right? So let me introduce you to Anna. So Anna is a production engineer, right? So she's a well production engineer responsible for keeping production stable and safe. And she starts her day with questions like, why did production drop last week? Show me flow rates for well A with work over events. Did the last maintenance change affect my production or not? And this is where CDF is already strong, right? There is no question about it. And because the data is so contextualized and connected together, Anna or any other engineer or domain user like Anna can explore these analytics questions without worrying about which system it came from or how it was ingested. So for insights and analytics, the experience is working well. And then Anna asks one more question. And if you move to the next slide, Vivek. So she notices a sensor trend is flat and have this question, why is this sensor data missing, right? And I'm pretty sure you must have encountered these kind of scenarios. Now it's no longer an analytics question. It's a data engineering problem. So what she needs to understand now is where that source data is, how it is mapping into CDF, which data model it is coming into, and then what transformations and pipelines are needed for that data to be in CDF and for her to access. Now, Anna isn't a data engineer. I, as Aditya, isn't a data engineer. And I face these challenges or used to face these challenges every now and then, right? Just like Anna, I can't write Python functions or Spark SQL to fix everything myself. So what happens next? She raises a ticket and waits because she needs a data engineer. And what if this happens daily? Missing tags, new assets, new KPIs. It always becomes a ticket. And that's the bottleneck today. Domain experts like Anna depend on scarce technical issues, resources whenever data work is required, right? So rather than figuring out, hey, should I learn Python for it? I will look for a data engineer who is an expert for this. But whether I get a data engineer or not is not in my control. And this is where, the iceberg problem we call about happens. And that's what the next slide shows. Above the surface, everything looks great. CDF provides rich contextualized industrial data. As I said, no doubt, no question about it, best in the industry, right? If it is industrial AI, it has to be Cognite, right? But below the surface is where value gets stuck. And sometimes I feel that the real value is beyond what we see, right? And because domain experts just like me or Anna can't self-serve the data work needed for new questions, right? And that creates slow time to insight, overloaded data engineers, no data engineers at all, and underutilized data. It's not an access problem anymore, it's a data work problem. So the message is very simple. CDF solved the industrial data problem, but the values is still unlocked behind technical barriers. And this is exactly where Cognite Vision, which is the idea which we submitted, powered by Atlas AI, comes into picture. Now, when we go to the solution part of this, which is the next slide, think about Vision as an AI assistant inside CDF powered by Atlas AI, which is built to remove those technical barriers that stop domain users like Anna. Now, because instead of Anna creating a ticket and waiting for a data engineer, she can now just simply ask in natural language, move this data from raw table ABC to data model XYZ, or a step better. I want to see flow rate for well A, including work over events, because I don't really know what is a raw table or what is a data model. And what changes is not just the interface anymore. It is what happens behind the scene. Powered by Atlas AI, Vision doesn't just answer questions, it actually builds the data work like SQL transformations, Python functions, contextual models, and last but not the least, all the pipelines which are related to it. So Anna doesn't need to write code anymore. She doesn't need to learn code anymore, and she doesn't need to understand the underlying data engineering steps. So the outcome is simpler, faster, faster time to insight, broader adoption of Cognite as a data platform and as a data tool, and far less dependency on technical talents. And in the next section, we will show what this looks like in real end user workflow from a request made to an execution inside Cognite Data Fusion. Here, the experience from a domain user's point of view, Anna doesn't know if the data exists in CDF, right? So let's say if I don't see my data in my workflow or in my application screen, I don't really know what is happening behind the scenes. So does Anna. So what she simply asked the agent, I need the latest production rates for this asset, and I need my gas oil ratio. The agent first checks the availability and context in Cognite Data Fusion before doing anything else. Once that agent has done that, it basically tries to identify whether the data exists or does not exist. So if we see in the next slide, if the data exists, the agent can generate the required data work like transformations and calculations. I mean, in this example, which you see on the screen, it drafts a transformation pipeline to compute gas oil ratio from your gas and oil rates, which are available, and then prepares the output to be published to a data model. The key point is the domain user doesn't need to write SQL or Python. They just review what the agent generated. And it is up to them now whether they want to review the transformation code or not, or they want to review the result of what that transformation gives, because they would be interested in that. Once they have done that, then finally the output, which basically will be shown in the next slide, is connected into the correct CDF data model. So it becomes reusable and not just a one-off result, right? You don't want to create a prompt for an agent and then keep on doing it every day, every time. You want it to be autonomous, right? So now the gas oil ratio becomes a governed standard metric which is available across apps, dashboards, and workflows, all powered by Cognite Data Fusion and Cognite Vision through Atlas AI. And if the data is missing, the same agent would return a data missing summary and then coverage metrics instead of guessing. And that's how an end user like Anna, an end user, a petroleum engineer like me, can still work on a data platform and extract all the value, not just some value, but all the value out of data. So, in terms of what next step, when we submitted the idea, we wanted to try to understand how does it really help Cognite Data Fusion as a data platform, right? So let's take a step back and look at what changes we will remove through these technical barriers through this Cognite Vision powered by Atlas AI. So, and it is not just about Anna as an end user, right? It is about every end user who wants to work with data to be faster, and how an entire organization usage of Cognite Data Fusion can change. The first one is a broader and easier adoption and engagement. So when users like Anna and myself can move forward without waiting on a ticket queue, more people start using Cognite Data Fusion as part of a daily work and not just data engineers and data specialists, then the adoption automatically increases. The second part is it enhances the user experience across applications, right? Because when it becomes easier to create and extend data model, transformations, pipelines, maybe without even knowing about it, the apps on top of CDF becomes richer, more context, better insight flows around, and then fewer handoffs are required. And last but not the least, which is the most important part, I believe, out of this idea, is data value becomes fully realized. More users means more use cases. More use cases means more contribution and learning, and that compounds over time. The platform gets smarter because of that, and the value is spread across team and workflows, right? And that's how you extract the real value out of a data platform. So the shift is simple. Cognite Data Fusion moves from being a powerful tool used by experts today to a platform that enables everyday work for everyone in the organization. So before I hand over, I want to recognize the team behind this. So this concept didn't just come from a slide deck. It came from real user pain, real collaboration, and a lot of work from product, engineering, and domain experts within SLB and between SLB and Cognite. So the team you see on the slide is basically the team behind this idea. And the best part about this team is that we are not only discussing this as an idea anymore. We have already started building working agents to support these tasks. And as these agents kind of become more robust and properly tested, we will move towards full end-to-end demos that should allow us to showcase it in a follow-up session on how that workflow, which we envisioned through Cognite Vision, will be in action, from request to execution inside Cognite Data Fusion. With that, I will hand over to Vivek to introduce you to the next speaker, who will walk you through the end user workflows powered by Atlas AI. But if you have any questions for me in the meantime, I will be happy to take those. Vivek, off to you.
Yeah, thanks, Aditya. Really fascinating presentation. So, as Aditya mentioned, any questions based on what he just presented? We can take a few questions now, either in the chat or you can come off mute and just voice your question. Okay. In the meanwhile, Aditya, I have a couple of questions. So based on what I just based on what I just heard, how does the agent know if the data for the gas oil ratio and production rates actually exist in CDF? And what happens if it doesn't?
I mean, excellent point, excellent question, Vivek. And I think whenever we are trying to put agents together, we talk a lot about agents these days. I mean, it's the era of agents, right? But I mean, this is the piece where an industrial data platform like Cognite Data Fusion comes in very handy, right? I can tell you that. I've been doing it every day now. So what I'm trying to say is that the agent is not going to guess anything, right? So the agent will start with a discovery. So it will check whether the assets which exist in Cognite Data Fusion have a contextual information in a knowledge graph or not, right? Then it looks for the required underlying signals like oil rate, gas rate, other properties which may impact availability of oil rate or gas rate. And then it also checks the freshness of that particular data, not just the availability, but the freshness and coverage of that data. If the data exists, it can generate the transformation and publish those KPIs like gas oil ratio in this example, but it can be any other KPI as well into the right data model. If it does not exist, the correct behavior is transparency, right? So it reports that the data is missing. For example, hey, for this particular well, I do not see the same property or tag which I see for a well in the same asset, another well for in the same asset, right? In some cases, you may have that data, but it was not contextualized properly, right? Because the name was not matching or something is off. So it can tell you in full transparency what are those missing source systems, so why this coverage is low. So the end goal of an agent is not solving everything without letting us know. It is solving everything autonomously with full transparency. And that's the key here, right? CDF provides that structure and context, and then the agent uses that to validate availability before building anything. So that's the whole idea behind this concept.
Okay, great. Dinesh, I think I saw your hand raised. Do you have a question?
Sure. Since our community is still trying to frame up the question, I thought I'll give some challenge to Aditya. Aditya, for in the solution is excellent. What did you from lineage perspective? How do you envision taking that into consideration? Because as you know, lineage is very important, data lineage, and that helps to identify the right data item for domain experts. Just any thoughts there?
Absolutely. I mean, for us, I mean, especially in the oil and gas industry, where data is, and like any other industry, but I mean, since I come from that industry, so I can vouch for it. I think data lineage is such an important aspect because it is not about what is happening in future or what's going to happen in future, what is present, but it is also important to know what has happened before, right?
Right.
And it's not just about AI or machine learning when we talk about lineages, right? It is about um, everything related to data. So in our case, and we actually do it, right? So we have been using some out of the box parameters and key features with Cognite provides today. We have been working very closely with Cognite product organization on how they are trying to handle this lineage. I would not say problem, but extensions going forward. The way we try to do it today is through data models, through metadata information associated with instances of a data model. And that basically allows us to kind of identify that. Um, so it is more of how we are using the current features along with solutioning. And then the AI part, when we're talking about an agent and all, then it becomes more important, right? And it's pretty awesome that you asked me because I was thinking about it, right? Like, when we create an agent, it's going to give me an answer. And then, what happens, right? The agent created by me should be used by someone else as well. So we are working on kind of solutioning around that, how we can have lineage of an agent, but at the same time, if we have a data lineage already available, if we have a bitemporality implemented somewhere in the system, then it kind of becomes more of a matter of how we are putting an architecture together to reuse that information. And Cognite provides us and allows us all the tools to kind of put that together today. And they are improving, right, every other day. So that's the best part about this.
Thank you. Back to you, Vivek.
Yeah, thanks. I have another question. So if the agent generates transformations and updates data models, how do we keep governance and sort of prevent wrong outputs?
I mean, so the intended workflow for Cognite Vision powered by Atlas AI is not to replace an expert, right? Is to help an expert, right? Like Anna in this case, right? Or Anna or an Aditya who knows a bit about data and transformation but does not know how to write it, right? So that's the whole intention, right? How to make it more efficient, right? How to save that time. So the agent here proposes and then generates that data work, which I'm calling as a combination of functions, transformations, and data model contextualization. So for example, the transformation and the model update, but then it is still executed within those guardrails, right? So, and what are those guardrails? Those guardrails are very simple, which I think has been going on in the industry. And we don't really need to change that a lot, to be very frank, right? Role-based permissions, if you want to put a human in the loop, then you can have some review and approve steps. If you don't want to put a human in the loop, then based on uh, the confidence factor of what those transformations are generated around, then you can auto approve it. But it is always good to have a human in the loop, right? So AI for humans. And then versioning and audit trail, exactly what Dinesh was mentioning, right? So it's not just about lineage but also audit trails. And then last but not the least is, if there is a human in the loop, then preview those results before publishing, right? So these basic guardrails are good enough to solve that problem. And I mean, it kind of is, it's a very common question, right? So I mean, Gen AI isn't about bypassing governance at all, right? It is about operating within that governance, right? So the real benefit is reducing the manual effort and then turnaround time while keeping control and accountability in place, right? That's the whole idea. That's the whole concept.
Okay, thank you. All right, do we have any other questions in the chat? Sorry, I can't see it from my screen. If not, thank you, Aditya. So a few takeaways. So based on what we heard a few minutes ago, CDF provides trusted contextual industrial data at scale. Atlas AI unlocks no-code workflows for domain users. On top of that foundation, AI agents translate intent to data work. And we are also able to achieve fast integration and broader adoption across teams and use cases. And finally, it's governed by design, including access control, review, and traceability. So really solid principles. And Aditya, once again, thank you for your presentation.
My
So
pleasure.
up next, we have Dinesh with your submission. Over to you,
Thank
Dinesh.
you. Thank you, sir. Can you hear me properly?
Yes.
All right. Hello, Cognite Hub community. Thank you for your time. I know it's a busy start of the day for everyone, so it's really appreciated on behalf of all of us that you took time out of your busy schedule. Before we start, on a lighter note, I always tell even the Cognite folks that I'm an unpaid employee of Cognite. I'm a big fan of Cognite. I had been working with the Cognite team for the past 40 years. So it's been very, I believe, I just say, I believe in the power of industrial AI combined with CDF. It's a really great opportunity to an honor to speak to the community. And one last thing, I'm sure, since you are a member of Cognite Hub, you heard of Moonshot. So I keep a reminder there for Moonshot on that front, for us to always pursue excellence. Thank you, Aditya, for your idea. That was excellent. And yeah, definitely, I'm sure between two of us, we made it hard for the judges to pick the winning entry. So really, really great vision, and I would love to work with you. And I love the name Vision 2. With that, we can start with the idea that we presented. We means tridiagonal.ai. Thank you. For based on Tridiagonal has been a domain expert from its core. That was the bread and butter. And we always have been thinking how we can use machine learning to help in the various industries optimize their processes, how they can get value out of their data. We were doing sort of AI before AI caught on. So a lot of field experience combined with data science expertise and some practical learnings along the way helped us to understand how we solve problems for various industries. So we picked for the purpose of this um, presentation, we picked cement industry to include in our use case. You would say why cement industry? Number one, you can see I will not read the numbers to you, but it's a pretty big operations footprint around the globe. A lot of plants out there. So global market size, number one. Number two, the demand is increasing due to the growth in GDP, gross domestic product, for around the world as people's living standards are improving. And definitely people want that more business opportunities, so need for buildings and residences, etc. So it will take very long time before the market saturates. Number three, energy intensive operation. The main ingredient for cement is clinker, which is produced at a very high temperature. It's about 2700 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 1600 degrees Celsius. So needless to say, any small reduction in the energy usage, any opportunities for small opportunity for energy optimization will go a long way. Next, please. When sizing up a new project or idea, everyone does it out there, value opportunity. So we did the same. In terms of the value proposition based on the global size of the market, our analysis indicates that any plant which is about medium size, 5 million tons per annum MTPA production, they have around five unplanned downtime. I'm sure all of you have heard unplanned downtime, stoppages, unplanned because things go wrong unexpectedly, and each one of them costs around $13 billion. And the math is simple, that when you compute that based on the world capacity, global capacity, that comes to about $34 billion with B. And this we added that even before the moonshot was announced. Now I think after the fact that this will be a great contributor to the moonshot, $100 billion of customer value by 2035. Next, please. A little bit background on the problem. The major cause of stoppages or unplanned downtime is twofold: the feed quality. If inputs are changing constantly, then the process needs to be changed. Same thing, the fuel mix. All the energy is produced using a variety of fuel mix, which is based on market conditions, what's available, etc. And it's not a static process. It's highly. I'm sure there are a lot more other industries that are not static either, but this particular use case is a very dynamic process. And it takes AI-based solution to be able to constantly adjust and make intelligent decisions, advise the operators with intelligent decisions. So it's a great use case for AI to solve. Furthermore, Kiln is a great place for optimization in cement industry because it's a very high usage of energy in that particular type of equipment. But bottom line is that there are huge interdependencies in between various parts of the process, and we, based on our years of expertise in solving such optimization problems, we we picked this particular problem for solving using Atlas AI. And lastly, the benefits are for the customers are it's a very low margin and high volume business. And as with any high volume, low margin business, if your goal is to increase your uptime, and 90% is the number for the global benchmark that's out there, published by analysts or experts. 90% uptime for the cement industry, and we are just trying to play into that 10%, the small slice there, because any small reduction in unplanned availability or unavailability will go a long way in helping the bottom line. Next, please. Now you would ask, how do you make this? How do you pull this off? Now, I'm about to explain how our partnership with Cognite is a great enabler for solving such industrial problems. There are very fourfold reasons. I'm sure there are more, but just for the sake of brevity. Number one, these are my favorite. That's why I wrote them down here. For domain expertise. Tridiagonal brings domain expertise based on years of experience, and we develop ML models that are physics aware. ML models are the brain for any AI-based solutions. So physics aware and with the reality embedded, plus first principles. Bottom line is you can develop first principles models, but bringing insights from the field knowledge is where you know how to tweak those hyperparameters based on various conditions and what looks right, what doesn't. So that's where our domain expertise and combined with technical capabilities of Cognite's data and AI platform is helpful. Cognite's industrial knowledge graph, I'm sure all of you have heard. Cognite's industrial knowledge graph is the most efficient way to turn your data into information. And that information goes to LLM so that it can create zero noise and intelligent, actionable, and trusted information or actions for the end users. Again, trusted and zero noise, that means no hallucination or low level of hallucination. Plus, you can create with the accurate data and information and context, you create the solutions that will give you deterministic answer, not probabilistic answer. So you get the same answer every time you ask. Lastly, for industrial knowledge graph is very helpful. The way it's laid out, the flexibility is very helpful in creating ontology. As you might know, ontology is a key term. It's a way for us to represent specific area of knowledge that computers can understand and LLMs can understand and reason with it, and they can decipher logical connections in the industrial or a plant data or any plant data. I will not go through all of that for the sake of brevity, and I will talk about agentic AI framework. The third pillar, an important ingredient for good AI-based solution, are, as I mentioned, about our expertise in building ML models from years of experience. Plus, with the introduction of Atlas AI, it was a GA recently, and we have been playing with that. We have been developing a lot of good solutions based on that, and we have taken it for a test drive. And bottom line is as Vivek had mentioned earlier, low code, zero code. That's what it brings to the table. And lastly, all these years, customers had all the data in Cognite's data platform, but from being able to retrieve that for actionable insights was always challenging, and that's where the conversational AI using Atlas AI opens the door for even domain experts. Aditya's fantastic idea was around enabling the domain experts and non-technical users. So it goes Atlas AI. It fits in that vision perfectly. Next one. This is an overview of solution for all of this is made possible by process-aware knowledge graphs or process-aware ontology. The bottom line is that we built tools using Atlas AI. After Atlas AI came into being, we built tools, and that can take PNIDs, other engineering documents, and convert them to process-aware knowledge graphs. And based on that, it opens a new door for LLMs to understand this additional layer of material flow, interconnections between various equipment and sensors, instrumentation data. That's where you can do a whole lot using AI-based solution or conversational AI. You can converse with it. You can do root cause analysis. You can project. You can um, there's no limit to what you can do once you have those connections at your disposal. Next one. All right. I'll thank you again. I'll turn it back to Mr. Vivek here for summarizing it. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So thanks, Dinesh. It's really cutting edge, stuff that you're working on. Like in the previous presentation, I would like to open up the floor for any questions. So please feel free to come off mute or drop your question in the chat. So Dinesh, while we wait for folks to drop their questions in chat, I have a couple of questions. So how critical is Atlas AI in rolling out the presented solution?
All right. Thank you. I'll start by the answer that hopefully you don't think I'm just being robotic here, but power of LLMs is ability to take a large amount of data. Okay, we had those already. We could programmatically read a large amount of data. But with LLMs, you can reason with it. You can reason in a loop until you come up with the right answer. So that's where the reasoning power of LLM combined with the Cognite's AI data platform is very critical in a variety of ways. Let's take Aditya's use case. He's using LLM or AI or Atlas AI to help domain experts make sense of data and automatically or try to make it easier for them to take it to the data model. So it's available for them to use in Atlas AI agents. And bottom line is you can use this every step of the way in this whole life cycle from data acquisition and to the getting the value realization using Atlas AI and dashboards, graphs, you can embed that anywhere. So supplement, just like on the graphs, you have in the CDF graph or Cognite data platform graph, you have availability of agent so that you can, in that context, you can pose any number of questions. Same way, you could extend any solutions that you have and if they might be static, but you can embed that conversational AI using Atlas AI. So I will conclude by saying that it is critical. There's no limitation where you use or where it's not. You can use everywhere, and it'll be very critical for us to leverage that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay. I have one more. So what are at least what are the key challenges in operationalizing the solution you just presented?
Based on what we've been hearing currently, before I start answering your question, please give me a little bit extra time here to set up the background. The good news is that all industrial customers are getting a little bit more receptive to the idea of trying out AI in their normal workflows or processes. That was not the case. They were very reticent about, I would say, 1 year ago. So that's great. Finally, the news is reaching everywhere, and people are willing to take small risks. So in that, um, that presents an opportunity for how do you approach that carefully. Number one is our advice is you start small. You start small and try out in a smaller setting, maybe less risky setting, and then you establish trust, and then you scale up. But think of scalability all along, not that hey, it's one and done situation. Number two, for specifically our process aware knowledge graph creation, automation of that using Atlas AI, of course, just the quality of inputs. Images could be are sometimes not readable. A lot of companies have PNIDs that are copies of the copies of the copies of the copies. You can see the degradation of quality along the way. So that's where I will just stick to those two for now, but I'm sure we can talk about this offline with anyone if to outline other challenges based on what we know. Thank you.
Thanks, Dinesh. Any questions in the chat? Guess not. Okay. So just to sort of wrap up and talk about the takeaways from your presentation. The main ones are integrating technology with domain expertise is essential for success. Leveraging process-aware knowledge graph enhances process investigation. Atlas AI is a great enabler for promoting AI adoption in an industrial environment. An ontology is critical for zero noise AI solutions. All right. So thanks again, Dinesh. And so as we sort of move into the wrap-up portion of the session, I want to sort of bring Aditya back and just pose a couple sort of general questions that I'd love to get your point of view on, both you and Dinesh. So the first one is, if we want to apply Gen AI with CDF, where do we start and how do we measure value? And either one of you can go first.
Aditya,
Dinesh,
you
wanna
need to
start?
go? You want to go? You
I
want
can
to?
start.
Okay, I'll start. Then we'll take turn. For where do you start? Starting small, as I mentioned earlier, the building there are out of the box default agents that, of course, go a long way. But the best way is that you can take a small use case and build using Streamlit app. You build your user experience. That's essentially while building the solution, you have to think what will prompt an end user to go and start conversing. So you can put your forecasting models and projections and risks in the form of dashboard, and it could be a verbal summary of that, not verbal, sorry, for textual summary of that. For example, if it's on for Monday, you can present, hey, this is what's coming up this week. Let's say if heat exchanger is due, if ML model is recommending that this heat exchanger should be clean, then you could provide those insights. And that allows them to do more investigation and embed in those Streamlit apps, embed your agentic AI part built using Atlas AI. And lastly, what I love is Atlas AI, you can embed functions. So you can inject your brain, the brain that you want the AI to have or LLMs to have. And you can provide a fine-grained control. And as you know, like LangChain framework, it iterates over and it's able to reason until it finds the right answer. And we've been very pleased with by operationalizing that for some of our customers.
Okay, thanks. Aditya?
Resonating with what Dinesh said, right? At the end of the day, I feel it should be low effort, high impact kind of a thing. And the best way to start is with workflows that are high volume and repeatable, right? You do it every now and then. You don't really realize. I mean, it can be associated with a product, it can be your daily life as well, right? And anything where I feel there is a lot of manual effort, which is not adding any value in terms of the time spent, is where Gen AI should be applied. I mean, de facto, right? I mean, in terms of data, since we're talking about, Cognite, data fusion, and, things around data, it can be as simple as, tracing missing data, onboarding a new data source, right? These kind of things. And in terms of how you can track those values need to be based on what the outcome is expected by an end user, right? So it should not be an outcome expected by a feature, right? But by an end user. So it can be as simple as, again, right, reduction in time to insight, right? It can be, how I can reach to the solution of a problem, and the solution can be different for every problem, right? But how fast I can reach to that solution, which will allow me as a stakeholder or a decision maker to make a decision out of it, is what the real value can be measured around, right? So if we can track that, I think then the real value of Gen AI comes out, right? So as I said in my presentation as well, right? I think we are beyond the era of prompts, right? We are in the era of how automatic this can be with minimum. I mean, at the end of the day, it is not replacing a human, right? It is making it more efficient, right? And the more efficient a human can become, then the more ideas, right? I'm thinking in terms of physics, I'm thinking in terms of chemistry, right? That's where we need to invest more time on, right? So this is where I feel Gen AI needs to be applied, and then within in context of CDF, it has to be around data, right? How you can have higher adoption of platforms with minimum resistance, because at the end of the day, everyone wants to use something which is easy to use, right? No one wants to use a difficult thing, by the way, right? As long as it is not a new year and it is not a gym. So I mean, that's what my approach would be, right? Start small with the high impact and prove speed and quality versus anything else, and then
Okay.
scale, right?
Mhm. Okay, thanks, Aditya. So, one last question in interest of time, this we can keep it brief. And it's a very fundamental question that, all of our customers ask, right? So Gen AI is everywhere now. And in simple terms, what problem does Gen AI actually solve in industrial data? And either one of you can just give a quick minute on that one.
Aditya, you start this time.
Yeah. Thanks, Dinesh, and thanks, Vivek. I mean, it kind of it's an extension to my previous point, right? And I'm again gonna talk in terms of Cognite Data Fusion here, right? So I mean, CDF gives you trusted contextualized industrial data, and that's the foundation. I mean, without any good industrial data foundation, Gen AI is hallucination, right? So you need that. But many organizations still struggle with speed because data work, right, as I said during my presentation, requires specialists. They require long turnaround times. And then when that happens, people do not really realize that, hey, this is not a Gen AI problem. This is a problem which Gen AI is telling you that you need to solve, right? So I feel that Gen AI adds value by reducing friction, right? So your intent to outcome just reduces, right? That's where Gen AI is. I mean, simple terms, right? It basically, I think, helps users like me, for example, describe what I need, right? And then, I can actually talk to a chatbot and kind of discuss and, emulate ideas and come up with something new just by, some prompts, right? And I think that's where it accelerates that repetitive engineering steps, basically, at the end of the day, right? So how that repetitive engineering steps can be accelerated, and then, at the end of the day, how that iteration towards new use cases can be faster than what it is today. I think that's where Gen AI actually solves the industrial data problem. So, and then, I mean, how do I put it, right? What should be my tagline here, right? It's basically not replacing, it's amplifying, right? And I think that's what Gen AI does, and that's what Atlas AI is doing with the industrial data logic, which is there in CDF already, right? So I think it's cherry on the top of a very, very sweet cake.
Okay, thanks, Aditya. Dinesh?
Since we have 4 minutes, so I'll be quick. My favorite tagline that I've come up with is, it's a great tool for experts. The in my opinion, my humble opinion, the folks that are experts, domain expert, banking expert, reliability experts, they are best positioned to get value out of that because they know what questions to ask. Number two, because it's all in prompt, they know what to ask, what are right questions, and they can validate the answers, and they are the first one to identify hallucinating. Example, if you on, let's say, any of the open LLMs, if you chat OpenAI or anyone, if you go ask question, you have no way unless you do it extra work to validate the answer. That's why the hallucination term and security concerns come from. So same way, domain experts in industrial setting, they need to have crisp information and rely on it. So if you want an AI operated, sorry for using this big buzzword, but I love it, AI operated, human led solutions, then I would say our experts are best candidates to start with.
Okay, thanks, Dinesh. All right, so really, two excellent presentations, really interesting topics. And so as we wrap up, I would like to thank Dinesh and Aditya for presenting their winning submissions, demonstrating how CDF enabled with AI could have a transformative effect on industrial operations. I would also like to mention our Moonshot 100 by 35. It's an initiative where the goal is to help our customers achieve 100 billion in value by 2035. Now, as we move forward, you can meet Dinesh and Aditya in Cognite Hub, where we currently have a community of approximately 16,000 members coming together to innovate and build, right? It is, as always, our innovation engine. So Shniza, if you have any final words.
Maybe just like to keep this inspiration going on here in the chat, I just shared the links to the winning ideas. So if you like to interact directly with presenters, you can do that on Cognite Hub. So we would love to hear your comments on the presentation. Thank you, everyone, for joining the session. And from academy and community perspective, I can just say co-innovation works and community matters. And thank you, everyone, for joining the session today.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. Bye. Bye, Vivek. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.
Mhm.